Good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to a lovely evening at this, your church, Paul Christian Spirituals Church. And tonight we are delighted to have the lovely Gareth Lewis, who will be taking our evening. Gareth, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Lawrence, and good evening, everybody.
Wonderful, wonderful to see you. Isn't technology wonderful when it works?
When it works. When it works.
So, Gareth, a little bit about yourself. I know you are a very prolific tourer. I know pre this time, there was always these notifications coming up of you're here, you're there, you're there, you're here, you're there.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. This is part of the joy of Facebook. We know where people are. Yeah, so you're touring all the time. Are you missing that at the moment, or is it just sort of like a welcome break?
At first, it was a nice little break, and it's difficult being out all the time. You know, I know my partner. I know she's kind of like wanting the bed to herself. I think she's kind of fed up about being around all the time. But yeah, no, I love being on the road. I love touring. It's hard work, but yeah, it's worth it. It is. It's worth it. I'm missing it at the moment. I am. I want to be back out there.
Yeah, I can fully understand that. And a lot of people may not appreciate also, it's not just the touring, the travelling and going to do it. It's arranging these, because you're going to have to get your diaries done up like a couple of years in advance, I would imagine, correct?
Well, that's it. I mean, I'm quite lucky because I have someone who does my diary for me. Otherwise, it would be a mess. But no, I know we book up this year. Next year's near enough booked, or on its way to being booked. But a lot of this year is going to have to be moved over to next year. And every week, I'm constantly taking shows off and taking demonstrations off, which, you know, I'm sad when I do. When I sit at the computer and do it, I'm kind of like, oh, I don't want to do it, you know, but you've got to be able to plan for. So I'm looking now at the end of July, and I'm going to have to cancel those shows now, even though things might change, because, you know, you've got the advertising, you've got how the seating arrangement's going to be and all that kind of thing. So at the moment, I can't see myself being back on the road till at least September now.
Yeah, it is. It's so unsure. I mean, as far as the churches go, we've been given the date by the government of the 4th of July.
All right.
Which is good because we've got something to work towards. But then we're looking at how do we actually manage that? You know, like you just said, with the seating, we can fit 14 people only into the church with the social distancing. 2 of those will have to be workers of the church, because I'm going to need people manning the doors to make sure people don't congregate, you know, because of the very nature of the church. People want to come together.
Yeah.
And sadly, we've got to go, not yet. You can't do that.
No, I know. It's like with myself, it's kind of like I've looked at a couple of the theatres of the way that they're working, and, you know, it's kind of like every 2 meters or whatever it may be, and every other row, someone's got to be sat there. But sometimes it's not viable for the venue. It's not viable for myself. How do I know whether they're from the same household who are sat next to each other? There's so many different things, you know, which would make things complicated. Because, you know, friends come, people from work come together, you know, to the church and to demonstrations away from the churches. So all that's got to be looked into, and it's going to be difficult times ahead.
Yeah, good point. Never thought of that. Yeah. This is hitting everybody, and it's in their own unique fashions, and it's how we manage that.
Yeah.
But actually working with Spirit under these conditions, I am always very mindful, you know, I do not celebrate what we're doing at the moment because of why we're here. But there are things that are coming to the fore which are very interesting. And number one is the mediumship, actually working online. People are working online now, not getting that feedback.
Yeah.
I'm a working medium. I love a yes, a no, a tear, you know, great, I'm doing my job. And you're not getting that now. But upstairs, don't let us down. You know, the level of information that's coming through. And the what's the point? Well, where it's very pertinent. You know, it's not phase stuff. It is really personal, pertinent stuff.
Yeah,
and it's spot on. You know, and like I was saying to you earlier, I suppose as mediums, we've got to think, well, actually, the feedback is our thing,
Yeah,
but why we're here is to give from them to them.
Yeah.
We just involve ourselves with getting it. Oh, yes, I got that right, But anyway,
I mean, I've stayed away, not stayed away necessarily from online readings, but I do prefer, one-to-one, being face-to-face. And, I've had to change my diary over for people who booked in to come and see me to do online. So it's made me do it. And not only that, Lawrence, it's, I mean, with myself and Craig Morris at the moment, we're doing online classes as well. And, we're teaching the people, and it's teaching me as well, that trust, what you must have. You've got that trust in spirit. You've got that trust that even though you're 200 miles away in another continent, even, spirit won't let you down. And as long as you're there to work for him, that evidence will always come through. So, it is a massive lesson for me. I know that, I'm trusting more and more in him. And it's something I've just had to adjust to more and more.
Yeah, because that is another very interesting side to you as well, is your teaching. Because I know you were up at Having Coed, weren't you, last year with Craig?
We were. It was our first year together last year, working at Coed. I can never pronounce it correctly, so I do apologize. So yeah, it's our first year, and it was a fantastic weekend. We start on the Friday, finish on the Monday, and we start after dinner on Friday evening. Do till about 8 o'clock, something like that, and then 9 o'clock in the morning on the Saturday, and on the Sunday we're straight through. A few breaks, dinner and tea and whatever, but then we're straight through till 8 o'clock the both those days. So it's full on weekend. One of the best things, as well, I don't know if you've ever been there, but one of the best things is at the evening you get together with the students in the lounge area, nice big fire, all sat round, having a couple of drinks, having a laugh, just talking to each other. And I really, really enjoyed it. Me and Craig are there again this year. I think it's the 23rd of October. We're there this year, that weekend of the 23rd of October. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've not been to Having. I've been to a few other residential courses, and you've got that immersive quality, and it'll be interesting to see how that reacts now that times have changed slightly. But at that time, to switch everything off and to go and immerse yourself totally in the past. I've had a big interest in physical mediumship, so I went away for a few week courses doing that, and used to come out bouncing off the walls. You really were, because you were just in that power, in that energy all the time.
Yeah.
But what makes it are brilliant teachers, and I know just by our conversation beforehand and things said that I know you fall in that category of a good teacher. I don't blow smoke.
No, do you know what it is, Lawrence? Whether the term the old school mediumship, whether that term is correct or not, I don't know. But I always go by, I was taught by, when I would class old school mediums. And again, I'm not here to blow any smoke up anybody, you know what I mean? And to make them any better. And if I feel like you can do better, I'll stretch you. You know what I mean? I'll push you more, and I'll not make you, but you know what I mean? I'll help you and guide you. And that's what I enjoy. I love teaching, whether it's, at a workshop or even online. I'm enjoying the last 8 to 9 weeks that we've been doing online, and just seeing the students come in on leaps and bounds, and then getting the feedback as well as thank you very much. Never thought of it like that, But I always say, no tutor can tell you how to be a medium. You know what I mean? We could just guide you and help you and give you little exercises along the way. So, it's, I love it. I love teaching. I do.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, brilliant. A good teacher is a rare find, really is, it's about complete honesty with people, encouraging.
I think I'm a bit too honest sometimes. My mouth and brain don't work together. And I always say, at the beginning of my workshops, Lauren, do you know what I always say? I always turn around to my students and I always turn around and say, look, whatever I said, don't take it personally. I'm northern, and my mouth and brain don't work together. So when I say stop, don't get offended. It's just my way of just, right, okay, let's just take it back. But yeah, I think that's my downfall, is I'm a little bit too, to the point.
I think it just depends on the people, really. I must have some northern blood in me then, because often my brain is sat up there looking at my mouse saying, we've talked about this, why are you doing it again, you know?
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. I know what you mean, definitely. Yeah.
So, sir, I will hand over to you totally now. Yeah, this is your evening, dedicated totally to you. So, without further ado, Gareth.
Oh.
What?
Mediumship.
You can do whatever you like, as long as you keep your clothes on, please.
All right. I thought we I didn't know we were doing mediumship or anything like that.
Well, no, that's fine. That's fine. We'll carry on talking. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. No, I haven't thought about or put that intention out to do mediumship. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Everybody be switching off now.
Yeah, see the numbers going down.
People on the side, then yeah, I will do, definitely.
All right, wonderful. Yeah, this is a very interesting time as far as some of the spiritual matters are going. Not only the medium mystic development of people, but also the actual personal development of people. You know, people are finding that time to be quiet, to be, we run circles, we run events to teach that, to go into the power, to sit in the silence.
Yeah, definitely.
And people are just having to do it. Yeah,
when I was taught right from the beginning, and now I do it myself. I teach the way of the first part for me for development, to work with spirit, is self-development, is to find out who you are. Who am I? What am I here for? Where am I going? And I do feel that sometimes is when you can find out who you are and what you represent and what your spirit is, and what your essence of the spirit is, then you've got a better understanding of not only the people you're working with, but you've got a better understanding of working with spirit as well. So I do feel a big part of development is self-development. And when I did the classes and development classes in my local church, I did start off with self-development and just understanding a little bit more about yourself. I lost a couple of people right at the beginning, because they just wanted to get in there straight with, working with spirit, and that was that. But the people who did work with it, they understood why I did it, and like these times now, it's a time to go back and self-reflect, you know what I mean? And go back and look at yourself and go back and say, okay, what have I done wrong and where can I go better? And we're always learning about ourselves as well, so I know I've been doing a lot of, self-discovery and, going back and finding out more about myself, in these times. But I do feel it's an important part of your development is to, keep going back, keep finding out who you are, keep going back to yourself, and and discovering yourself more and more.
Indeed. I often say to people, on that pathway, I say it's so important to know yourself, because if you don't know yourself, how are you going to know what spirit is impinging on you?
Yeah.
It is all part, and it's this, same light for a different window we're talking here.
Yeah.
But also the some people, I want to be a medium. I want to be a medium. Okay, then what? And you get this quizzical look. Well, being a medium is part of your pathway. It's not the end point. It's not the nadir. It's part of that pathway.
Yeah.
So you become a platform medium, then what? And that's quite an interesting question to ask people.
I always ask that question when I start off with my students, and I start off with people who come to the workshops and whatever else. And I always turn around and I say, well, one, and I want to know a little bit about you. But the last question I'll ask them is, why do you want to be a medium? And some of the answers I've heard throughout the years, because I want the fame, because I want to be known, because I want money. Well, I'm unknown and I'm skint. So, it don't go that way. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask me that question. They turn around and say, well, why did you want to become a medium? And my answer is because so many times, and probably like yourself, Lawrence, throughout the years, I've tried my best to step away from it. I've tried my best to turn around and say, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. And something will happen, and I'll get a phone call after a couple of months of having a little bit of time off. I'll get a phone call. Can you just do this? Can you do? And I'll go back into it. And I always say, you know, that with me, it's the spirit within. And if I didn't do it, then I wouldn't be Gareth. And it's as if there'd be a part of me missing. When the day comes that I do stop doing this, then I'm sure spirit will let me know. And they'll just say, right, that's it. You've finished your journey on this pathway, and we'll do something else. But yeah, it is a, you know, it's a difficult pathway.
It is. And a lot of people don't appreciate that. You know, you do get the comment, oh, it must be wonderful to talk to spirit all the time. Well, actually, I don't.
No.
You know.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah. Yes. Good old Jax. Hello, Jack.
I mean, if you was working with spirit, it'd drive you mad, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? If you were constantly, like, I remember a friend of mine, Mavis Patil, who I've worked with many times over the years, and I used to be friends with her sister as well. And I'm sure she won't mind me saying this, but Joyce, her sister, used to love just communicating with spirit all the time. And I used to turn around and say, why do you do that? Do you know, how can you do that? It was just because she loved doing it. Do you know, nothing more, nothing less. She just loved doing it. And even though I love doing it, I just think I just couldn't do it all the time. But you get some mediums who can just, you know, connect or give wonderful messages, you know, at the drop of an hat. And but I always thought, oh, I'd love to be able to do that. And then looking at it, I think, you know, I don't think I would love to be able to do that. You know, I've got to be able to have my own time. And, you know, this is spirit's time. I always say, when I'm working, this is spirit's time. And when I'm not, this is my time. You know, and so people said to me, oh, have you got anything for me? Or can you give me a message? Or, you know, no, this is my time. Even when I walk off stage, people turn around and say, have you got anything for me? And I say, nope, I've finished now. You know, because if not, you're just going to drain yourself. Well, I'd just wear myself out.
Yes, I agree totally. I had to sit and talk with my guides, and I've come up with an agreement is I work when I'm up there on the platform, be it whatever guise, I'm working for spirit. If there is a need, I physically get like that, a finger running up the back. But apart from that, you know, just walk up to me and say, you know, give me a reading, I'll pick up a book and say, right, chapter 1.
Yeah, you're completely right there, Lawrence. I totally agree. And there have been occasions over the years where I've just known I have to do something. You know what I mean? I'm just known that, yeah, I'm here for a reason. You know, even if it's just running to a friend's and another friend comes I've never met before, you know. And I don't not tell people that I'm a medium because I'm embarrassed by any means. But as soon as you turn around and say, oh, I'm a psychic or a medium, you'll either get one or the other. You'll get, oh, load of rubbish. Or you'll get, you give me a reading. You get one of them. And what I tend to find, Lawrence, I don't know about yourself, but those who turn around and say, oh, what a load of rubbish, I know 9 out of 10 of them have come up to me privately and said, you know, I had an experience once.
Yes.
You know, and you can't think, all right, but they don't want to tell anybody else. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a case of you know, you got to be able to turn off. And I always turn around and say, look, you've got to be able to have your own time. You know, let spirit do their job when it's there, when it's right. And if you just sat in a room with someone and you feel, like you said, you feel it's got to be right, then yeah, give it. But other than that, no, this is my time.
I'm always one banging on to everybody, and I've done this for years. It's about balance. All our life is about balance. We've got to be balanced. You know, we've got to have our happy times, our sad times, our work life, our social life, our home life, our outlook, you know, and all these things. But if you sit too long in one, the other goes out the window. Yeah. I did find not long after I'd taken over the running of this church, I was so into it because everything just happened. But I was just sitting in the energy all the time, working for the church and everything. And I went out for a walk, and I went for our local shopping centre, and it was the most odd experience. I just said, I looked around at people and I just thought, most of you are ugly. I don't mean physically ugly.
Oh no, yeah, yeah.
I was just picking up the and I thought, oh, you idiot! This is, you know, you're walking around open, and you shouldn't be, because you're picking up, you know, different emanation. And I always say, people, you know, there's no wrong people. We're like notes on a keyboard. Some notes go well together, some don't.
Yeah, yeah.
The notes on their own are fine, but they just don't go well together. Yeah. But yeah, that was a big. There's me telling everybody balance, 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 and here's me, the biggest one, totally out of balance.
No, I mean, sometimes you've got it. I always turn to people and say, you know, when they come up to me and say, well, why didn't I get a message? You know, why didn't Spirit come to me? I come to, you know, these kind of events all the time and I never get a message. And I always say, it's not because Spirit aren't there with you. Do you know what I mean? It's just maybe I'm not the right medium for you, or this is not the right time, or they choose not to, but they're always there with you. And you know, I always tell them, it's sometimes when they say, what do you mean you're not the right medium? And I say, well, again, just what we were just saying then, sometimes you can sit with someone in a room physically and you think, I don't like that person. And you never spoke to them. It's just you two don't connect. And there's nothing wrong with that person. They're probably the nicest person in the world, but you don't connect at that particular time. And that's just like any reading or any demonstration that you do. You know, sometimes you just don't connect. And I always say to my sitters when they come for readings, I always say, you know, let's see what happens. And it'll only work if you allow it to. You know, I'm here, Spirit's here. And if you're here with that, you know, open mind and that, you know, intention, then nothing should go wrong.
Yeah. No, very true. And you've got to have and maintain that honesty when you're working as a medium. I always have a rule. I'm not a fan of private sittings. It's just me. I'm not a fan. I'll do them for an event, for a cause, or when there's a need. But as a regular thing, that it just doesn't gel well with me. But I always say, if I'm in that situation, listen, in the first 10 minutes, if we're not connecting, absolutely fine, just go. You know, not a problem, because it happened. I had one event and I was a chap and I was trying, I kept getting things. No. And I did do the spiel about, listen, if you are desperate for one person to come through, they may not be around, but don't discount anybody else that comes in, which is, you know, a fairly common thing that we can come up against. You know, no. Anyway, I kept coming back to this twin brother. I kept seeing him walking along with himself, and he's going, "No, I've got a twin brother." And I thought, "It's there. I can see it." I'm really sorry. But anyway, afterwards, it was at a charity event, and the people said to me afterward, because I said, "Go back to the desk, tell them it's not work, get another book in, or get your money back, whatever you do." I was informed afterwards that the guy had split personality disorder. Yeah. Oh God, this is the twin all the time, you know. And people, you know, sometimes us as mediums, we get people coming to us who don't need mediumistic help; they need other help. And it can be quite an experience when you sit with some people. You just go.
Sometimes when I always say that when a sitter sits down, in that first couple of seconds, you've got to be able to know why they've come. You know, not who they want to connect with, but are they come for just a psychic reading? Do you know? Are they just come to know about the job? Are they just come to know about their life in general? Are they come to connect with Spirit? Or are they come for more of a healing reason? Do you know, i.e., like what you've just said there about, you know, someone with split personality. And, you know, you've got to be able to have that kind of like, right, why they come? You know, why they sat in front of me? I'm like you in a way that, not that I don't like doing private readings, but sometimes I just haven't got enough time to fit them in. And so then I get lazy and I think, well, whatever time I have got off, you know, I don't want to. So I turn, and it's one of those things where I just think, you know, when people come and see me for private reading, I always turn around and say, look, if it doesn't work, we stop. If you don't feel comfortable at any time, we stop. If I don't feel comfortable at any time, we stop. And any payment, what's been made, deposit, full payment, whatever it may be, will get refunded. Do you know, it'd be so easy, Lawrence, just sit there and just think, do you know, I'm struggling here. Just give them a load of rubbish. You know, just tell them, keep talking, you know, and I can't do that, me. You know, I've got to be able to, I always turn to my people, my clients, and say, well, if you can understand at least 80-85% of what I've said, then sometimes the other 10-15% will come back to you later when you ask somebody, you know, and that will be your own validation. But there's no point going out of a reading with me any less wise than when you went in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be able to understand what you've been given. You know, and that's why I think a message should be.
You touch on a very interesting point there. Something I'm always very keen on, and I call it going back to 1.0. We all, as we progress as mediums and spiritualists and spiritual people, we get to a stage we're talking about things on a level we completely understand. But we've got to be mindful of people new to the movement, new to this idea, new to this way of thinking, and not understanding. A lady once asked a question, what is a circle, on a philosophy night? And a few people were quite not courteous,
Right.
you know? And I went, that is such a good question. That is such a good question, because you don't know. I didn't know when I first walked in. I'm sure you didn't.
Yeah.
You know, so you were talking there about the types of reading. You said, could you just explain for everybody the difference between a psychic reading and a spiritual reading? Because we quite often see this advertised, but we don't really get the clarity on what's the difference.
So with the psychic reading, as me as a psychic or as a medium, I would then be sat with you, and I'll pick up on your feeling, your energy, your I kind of like as if like looking at the aura, do you know what I mean? And blending with the aura and the energy around you. And so when I do a psychic reading, sometimes people want me to use the tarot cards, and I don't know what any of the tarot cards mean. Do you know, they mean something different every time I look at them. A picture will change, you know, a thought of that picture will change, and that's just a tool. And sometimes when I don't use the cards and I just do a psychic reading, just blend with you. So for instance, Lawrence, I turn around and I say, oh, you know, last week you did this, and, you know, last year you did this, and you're going to change your job next week, and, you know, you've got health issues in this area, picking all that up psychically off you. And if you do that without the tarot cards, that sometimes scare people. And they're like, how do you know all this? You know? So by putting that tool in front of them, you know, makes them feel more relaxed. That's what I think. Makes them feel kind of relaxed and like you're getting information. Now, some people can read tarot cards perfectly. You know, what every card means, you know what I mean? I'm not about me. I'm not about everybody else. And, you know, we all work differently and we all get to the same end. You know, I just kind of, that's how I work. I remember once, you know, Lawrence, just going off a little bit on that. I remember many years ago when I first started doing the tarot reading, and I looked at the Lover's card, and I was talking to this young lady, and the Lover's card was a man and a woman, but when I looked at it, it was two women. And I looked at her and I said, you know, I said, the relationship that you're in at the moment, I said, your mum would be okay with it. Don't worry about it. But I couldn't come out and just say, you know, what I saw. And she said, well, don't tell me mum, because she's the next one to come in. And that was the next card what came, and I saw it again. I'm thinking, I don't want to see this again. So I had to word it in a different way. And my partner who I'm with now, she came for a tarot reading. And we've been together 9 years now. And I turned over a card and I saw my face on it. And I just thought, so I look at this. So sometimes the change of the card in my mind, not literally, but in the way I look at it, the way I see it, sometimes the objective card, it changes in a way. So that's working psychically, is working with that energy of the person. Obviously working spiritually is working with the spirit of, you know, mediumistically is connecting with the spirit and connecting with the energy of the spirit world. When I do my teaching in a workshop, I tend to sometimes use the two. So we'll have someone who has the back, you've probably done this exercise as well. Someone's got the back to the wall, the medium will come up behind them. And sorry, the medium will have the back to the wall and someone will come up behind them. And then they'll link psychically with the person stood behind them. And I always turn around and say, you know, this is similar to working with spirit. So you're picking up off the energy and the spirit of that person, the vibration of the person behind you. So when we're working with spirit world, we're working with their thoughts, we're working with their memories, we're working with their energy. and what they were like. So that's an exercise I kind of bring in as well. But yeah, there's a lot of people who don't understand the difference between psychic and spirit, spirit. And I always say when I'm working, if I'm working psychically, then I'll tell you I'm working psychically. So sometimes spirit will give me a thought in my mind and say, right, I'm buried in St. Catherine's Church. And I'll go, where? And then clairvoyantly, I'll go into that kind of like psychic link and that, and find out where the grave is. And I'll work my way clairvoyantly and use that and find out where the grave is. But they've given me that thought, spirit had given me that thought of, oh, I was with the way she dropped the plate earlier on, so then I'll link in psychically with you and go, what size plate was it? Do you know what I mean? And you'll give me that information, not the spirit world. So it's using both together.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah, I do love to hear that put out every now and then, because, as I say, we've always got to be very mindful, and especially at this time, we've got so many people who are logging in, watching these sort of things for the first time and getting swept up with it all, which is absolutely great. But yeah, we do need some of those basic teachings out there, and it just makes you feel a bit more confident, because people are saying, "Oh, I've got a psychic reading or a spiritual reading. What's the difference?" So hopefully you all know now out there. Wonderful.
Yeah, I always say, Lawrence, my understanding is my understanding. Do you know what I mean? And just like anything, so when I do questions and answers or things like this, I'm only giving you my opinion and my understanding and my views. So you'll get people, because we all think differently and we all have a different view and a different opinion. But it's that's sometimes. I remember after an audience I did once, and a lady come up to me and said, "I didn't agree with that answer you give." It doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong. It just means I'm right. So it was a case of like, yeah, that's fine. You understand it to be like that. I can't remember what the question was, but she had a different view. And I said, that's fine. That's your view. That's your, your opinion. And you're entitled to that. Do you know, just like because we're all on different levels. Do you know, we're all at different, different stages now in our development, in our pathways. And that was just my answer to that question.
Indeed, because that's quite interesting subject. Quite often comes up linked into trance demonstrations. You have people come in and get thoroughly enthralled by what's being said, and other people can actually get quite, no, this is wrong, this is totally wrong, that's not, and it then follows this thread. Because that philosophy doesn't agree with theirs, therefore that is not a trance medium. However, my understanding is there are as many schools of thought in spirit as there are stars in the sky. And if you ask 10 spirits the same question, you're going to get 10 answers.
And as long as you're doing it for the right reason, Lawrence, you know what I mean? As long as you're doing it for the right reason and you've got that intention behind you, that, nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Do you know, as long as that intention and that the point of it at the end is everybody's, we're all the same. We all end up giving that piece of information, but how we go about giving it, we're all different. We work differently. But at the end of the day, we've got that same point across. And, trance, again, to me, trance is a little bit more of a taboo subject. I've seen many trance. I got invited to a trance demonstration many years ago, Lawrence, many years ago when I first started. And it was a closed circle of trance. And the gentleman was doing this trance and he was communicating with aliens. So I thought, fair enough, it's something to look at and open, let's see what happens. And it was interesting. And it was interesting until he came up to me and he said that he was drawn to me and he said, in your past life, you was a disciple, one of the disciples. And I'm like, okay. And the gentleman sat behind me was Jesus himself. And I thought, and that just ruined the whole trance demonstration for me. Do you know what I mean? The whole kind of like being interested in this. And I just thought, well, you just ruined it. You've just gone too far. So I kind of come out of it like a bit more disheartened. Is it right? But trance, yeah, there's many ways. And I remember saying to, again, to Mavis Patilla, I don't know if you know Mavis or not, but, As I say, I remember going. She invited me quite a few times to go to watch her teaching. So I wasn't doing anything apart from sat at the back just watching her teach. And she got asked a question about trance, and I said, she said, there's only one or two people, you know, and Gordon Ingerson was one of them, you know, who she would say was definitely in trance. And I said to her, I said, so when you go into trance, do you believe that you're in trance or not? And she said, very good question. Because I've seen her in trance, you know, I've seen her that she is, you know, and she explained it, you know, everybody goes on different levels when they're in trance. And it's either they go on to more the transfiguration or the altered state of consciousness or the overshadowing. There's many different levels of it. And I think, to me, it's something I've not really looked into, but I've seen it in different ways and different, you know. So I'm still kind of a little bit, right, okay, I need to see someone who I turn and go, yeah, they were definitely in a full trance.
Yeah, it's that dividing line, isn't it, between where an inspirational address becomes a trance address. I know myself, sometimes, you know, I'm halfway through an address and I'll say something and I'll think, that's interesting. And I love that, because I'm thinking, well, actually, if I've just thought of something I find interesting, that's not my thought.
Well, so we are going to them altered states. So all we're doing is we're just going into an altered state of consciousness.
Yes.
So when we're doing mediumship, or when we're doing trance, or when we're doing healing, or whatever it may be, we're just altering that state of consciousness onto a different level. And I was saying just the other night in the class what we run, you know, someone keeps saying, or said a couple of times, you know, oh, spirit have gone, they've left me. Spirit haven't left you. It's you've come out of that altered state. You come out of that thought, that energy, and all you've got to do is just get yourself back into that energy and then communicate. So the spirit world is still there. That gentleman is still there in spirit. It's just you've come out of that altered state. So yeah, it is. It is just about the consciousness, you know, the altered states of what we go into on different levels of mediumship, trance mediumship, or trance, whatever it may be.
Yeah, very, very true.
Yeah.
So, the very interesting question asked by lovely Jamie. Let's get that one back. Excuse me. There we go. So, who was your inspiration?
So, my inspiration was, well, a couple of people really. Going back to when I first started, I used to have a very good friend of mine who's now passed to the spirit world, called Mrs. Oldham. And she was an old school lady, old school medium. And she wouldn't let me do anything wrong. She taught me, and she wouldn't let me do anything wrong. And when I first started going to the churches, I think she was about 70, 72, something like that when I first started. And she said, can I come with you? And I said, yeah, come for a drive. She'd sit and she'd come with me. And we'd talk all the way there. I'd do the demonstration. And I knew as soon as I sat back in the car, I knew after a couple of minutes, she'd turn around and go, well. And that was not telling me off or telling me what don't do that too many times. You shouldn't say this too many times. You do this. And she was teaching me, and I got it all the way. So if we were 10 minutes away or 2 hours away, I get it all the way home about the constructive criticism of what I did. So she was my inspiration there. But I think going more respect as well. Again, Mavis Patilla has inspired me, has helped me so much over the years. As I say, I've worked with her many times. But just to be able to sit and listen to her philosophy, listen to her mediumship and her teachings is just kind of mind-boggling to me. So she's inspired me quite a lot. But yeah, I think there's been a couple of people who've inspired me over the years.
Lovely. Yes, I trained under several mediums, as you do when you're developing. You know, you're in a circle for a while for a reason, and then you get moved around a bit. And my last teacher was a real old school, bit of a dragon, but totally devoted to working for spirit.
I remember talking about a dragon. Mrs. Alden used to sit, and if we ever sat together, I kind of refused sometimes to sit with her because she'd just sit there and she'd go, no, dear. No. And I sit there, I think, oh my goodness. We sat up front row, the medium could hear you. And she'd go, nonsense. Spirit wouldn't do that. No. And I'd be like, my goodness, you know. But if I did a demonstration and she didn't agree with something proper, didn't agree with something, she'd sit at the back and go, no. And I'm like, oh. And I get told off in the middle of 20, 30, 50, 100 people. She won't let me get away with nothing.
Right. Well, actually, I'll retract that statement then. Mine wasn't quite the dragon. But I was actually quite... One of the things I had with two of my teachers, I was actually a little bit fearful of them. And I don't think that really hurt, you know, and it was through that, you know, their awesomeness sort of intimidated me, but that made me want to excel, to reach up to their level, to, you know, to reach for the highest and the best. So sometimes when you get I think sometimes we develop better when the pressure's on.
Yeah, definitely. Because if it was made so easy and too easy, then I don't think you're learning as much. You know, as long as I always say, as long as your teacher is being constructive.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Not ripping you to pieces and not saying you're rubbish and not saying, you know, I always say, you know, I've had people sat with me in class and I thought, I can't have that person sat with me anymore because I don't agree in their style. And I never turn around and say that to them, you know, but after a week or two, they turn around to me and say, do you know what, this class isn't for me. And I go, that's fine, because spirit will sort it out. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'd never be, anything I ever say, like going back before, you know, I am kind of like, I say things and think, oh, shouldn't have said it like that. But it is always only constructive criticism. Do you know what I mean? That's all I try and do, is try and stretch people and say, oh, we can do this and we can do even better.
Very true. Very true. We do need that pushing. I had a person leave one of my circles because they've been offered to go and sit in another circle, and that's absolutely fine. That's the way it happens. I've not got any qualms with that. About 3 weeks later, he came back saying, could I come back to your circle? I went, well, of course you can, because I always say to people, if you want to leave, fine. If you want to come back, yeah, fine, just ask. Yeah. And I said, so what's happened then? He said, well, I don't know why Spirit did it to me. I went there, it was awful. She said this, did that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, you put yourself out there to learn. And I said, and you've learned. I said, not every lesson comes wrapped up in bows and with puppies, you know?
Yeah.
You went to circle to learn, and you learnt an experience.
Yeah.
So don't send that back to them. Think, oh, why are you so horrible to me? Just go, okay, yeah, I've learnt something here.
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of years, Lawrence, of me sat in circle, looking back now, I look at it now as I was taught what not to do in my first circle. And I was taught how not to work and how not to be a medium. And that sounds quite arrogant. I don't mean that all the time. Do you know what I mean? But looking at what I was shown and what I was told and how to do, I look at now, I think that's bad teachings. But at the time, it was kind of like, this is where I was. And after a bit, it got to be every Wednesday when we sat, it got to be an audience with me. Do you know? So it was kind of like nobody else was doing anything apart from I was connecting with Spirit. And I thought, this isn't right, this. And I remember turning around in my mind one day and going, I don't know if I want to do this anymore with this person. And then the week after, we had another tutor come in, and that I felt comfortable then. Do you know, I felt comfortable, it felt happy. But yeah, you know, going back, like, sat with Joyce Patilla and Bill Nederman from many years ago. I don't know if you ever heard of Bill Nederman, but, you know, he came in, and that old school tutor from Stansted, you know, sitting with these people and just thinking they're not going to let you get away with anything, you know, and I will let any of my students get away with anything.
That is a good energy to sit in, and it brings up quite a pertinent point as well for people sitting in circles or thinking of joining circles or even starting one up. You know, you are creating an energy of everybody's energy, and if one person or two people in there are discordant, the whole circle will get like that. Yeah. So you've got to be so honest.
A lot of it is like the ego as well. When you sit in a circle, you get the egos, you know, and that can really unbalance the circle. You know, and this is something like, as now, if you want to use the word as a teacher, when I do my circles, if I see that, then I will be horrible with them. Do you know what I mean? Because I'll turn around and go, no, there's no egos. I'm not any better than you, and you're not any better than me. You know, we're here to learn together. And when I do a workshop, when I do the weekend after Craig, I learn so much. I learn so much off Craig. Do you know what I mean? I learn so much off the other students. Doing this online one now, what we're doing, the online workshops, I'm learning so much. I'm learning so much about me as well. Again, going back to what we said earlier, that self-development, you know. So we're always learning, but when you get that ego, then you've got to really cut them off, you know. Yeah. And yeah, that's what can unbalance the circle sometimes.
I agree with you totally, because I remember when I first took over, I started running the circles, and I started doing an open circle, and I was just gobsmacked at the amount that I was learning from people. You know, you're going in thinking, right, I've got to have, you know, this plan and everything, and try and stick to these areas, give it a structure and everything. But you're just sitting with people, and what the things people say, and you just think, wow, yeah, I'd never thought of that. You know, how interesting is that?
Yeah, because we're all here to learn off each other, do you know? And when I've said to like people I've sat with, the students I've sat with, I've gone, do you know, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not the big know-it-all. Just because I'm stood at the front of the class doesn't mean I know everything. You've just taught me something there, and do you know what? I'm going to use that from now on, because I never thought of it like that. So we're all learning together, you know. So yeah, nobody's better than anybody else.
Very true. Very true. Lovely question from Dell here. How did you realise that you were going to move towards being a medium?
I think I got pushed. No. So without going too in depth with it, and you can read it in my book, which will be out next year. Without going too in depth with it, I started off visiting my church after having a really bad, awful time in my life. And I never set out to be a medium. I got no problem in turning around and talking about mental health and things like that, you know, and I was in a really dark place. I ended up in the spiritualist church, and I sat there and I felt like I'd come home. I just felt like that's where I should be. It's as if Spirit had just drawn me and told me, you know, this is where we need you. And again, never, ever, ever, even to this day, I've never said I want to be a medium. Never have I said I want to work in a church, in a hall, in a theatre, you know, anything like that. I started off in the circle that we've just been saying, and one night the medium didn't turn up, and the church said, Gareth, there's absolutely nobody, can you did it? And from there, it was the start of a journey. It was just a natural progression. That's why I describe it. It's a natural progression of Spirit had got me. They told me this is where you wanted to be at this time. And it might not last, you know what I mean? Next year, it might be different. I might be doing something different. The year after, 5 years, 10 years, I've been doing it 25 years. So I'm still waiting for that kind of like, right, we've done with you now. But they must still want me to carry on. So yeah, moving towards being a medium was a mixture of different circumstances through my own personal life into it just being a natural progression.
Very true. And you said a lovely phrase there. And when I hear it, my little heart sings when people say it. When they walk into a church and it's like, I've come home. I think that is such a wonderful thing for people to say. And you know, it's just that resonance is suddenly there. That thing that they want to shine back with has been lacking until they walk in through the doors of a church. And that is, as I say, you don't hear it often, but when you do, you just go, oh,
yeah. Yeah. So we were going, how do you feel about people sitting in more than one circle? So, Angie, sorry, I just read that for you.
That's right. That was fine. You carry on.
How do you feel about people sitting in more than one circle? Well, first and foremost, I can't tell people, I'm not about people who sit with me. I can't say, don't do that, don't do that, don't sit with them, sit with me, sit with them. It's down to yourself. I will turn around to people myself and say, I'd rather you didn't. And that's only because of different styles of teaching, different styles of tutors, and different styles of working with spirit. And again, not because, again, one tutor is better than any other. It's we work differently, you know, and I've heard this a few times the last couple of weeks. So with me personally, I would suggest people going out and looking and discovering, then find the one they're more drawn to, and then staying with that one circle and that one tutor or one teacher. And if, again, like what you said earlier on, Lawrence, if it doesn't work, then ask Spirit to find you somewhere else, and they will do. But no, I think there's a little bit of conflict there of interest between, you know, we're sitting in more than one circle, especially for development. Open circle, development circle, yeah, no problem, that's fine. But when it comes to teachings, I think you're better off just sticking with one, and then you're not getting confused. Well, she said this. Well, he's told me to do it that way, you know, and you find it's all confusing. That's what I think. So personally, I'd say find one, what you feel comfortable, you feel that's going to benefit you, and stick with it.
Yeah, no, very good. I'm very firmly in your camp there. I believe it is best practice to sit in one circle at a time, very much for the reasons you just said. I'd also ask a caveat that I've asked people when they've asked me that question is, why do you want to sit in two circles?
Mm.
You aren't, you know, this is an open exchange. Mm. Why do you want to be in two circles?
Well, there again, if people do tell me, oh, I'm sat in such a body's class in another town near me, I say that's fine. But, you know, don't come here and say, well, she says this. Don't come here and say, well, she says you're wrong for doing that. Don't tell me. You keep that circle to you, and you do what I'm teaching you. Yeah. You know, and if you want to do it, that's fine. I can't tell people not to, and I won't ban someone from my circle just because they are doing, but I would turn around and say, look, it's too different, and we might have two different styles. So, you know, don't come and say, well, she's telling me to do it like this because that languor, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's better off to be able to keep two circles separate from each other.
Yep, good answer. Very quickly, it's a nice, easy one. Are there any online circles for people who can't get out? Jill Phillips.
Jill, to plug, myself and Craig Morris are just on our third month of we're doing 4-week online development classes or workshops, if you want to say it like that. So we're doing 4-week slots, and we're taking every month as it comes. So at the moment, we've just started our third of the 4 weeks, and you're more than welcome to come and join us if you want. There's still one place, I think, remaining, which takes up to our maximum of what we want. If you're interested, just drop me a line on Facebook, you know, and message me, and I'll give you the details for that. So yeah, there are many. I know there's other circles going on. To tell you who, I don't know, but I know there are circles going on the internet and online at the moment, because everybody's sat in, they can't get out, and they don't want to go anywhere. And the people that we've had in our circles right from the beginning have kept with us for the last, you know, 2-3 months. So yeah, if you're interested, just drop me a line, and you'll be more than welcome to join us for the next, what will be 3 weeks. And then I know me and Craig have decided we're going to do July as well. So there will be another one. Craig will probably be on ringing me up afterwards going, I never agreed to that. So I'm sure we did say there will be another one in July. And then that will take us then to deciding what we're going to do, because if we're going to get back on the road or not, you know, and me and Craig, well, I start back on the road again in September. And I start with Craig, where we do our 3 theatres in September. So all being well.
All right, another question here from the lovely Jamie. And actually, yeah, this is a good question, because it's something I've never really reconciled in my mind about, you know, practice mediums. I'll take it you're meaning there, Jamie, who are actually working on platform churches, whatever. Do we continue to sit in circles?
Good idea. Mediums continues in circles with learners or special medium circles. So special medium circles. And Jamie, please, drop a line on that, because I'm kind of like, do you mean special medium circles as in going into trance circles, or going in, or is it just like Lawrence said, the more experienced mediums? Is that what you read there, Lawrence?
I read it as you, Craig, myself, Deb, Clark, who's online. So all mediums who are versed in working for the churches, going out there, sitting together, or do we mix our abilities, or do we sit in circle at all?
Oh no, definitely. There's nothing wrong with sitting with different. I mean, experience. Right, okay, yeah. I thought that's the way he was going. So yeah, Jamie. Do you know, if there's nothing wrong with experienced mediums, if you will, or mediums who've been doing it for more years than the other one, to sit with absolute beginners, because, like I said before, one, there's no ego. We shouldn't have an ego. So I'm no better than you. Two, it's a case of, well, I always say that we should always go back to the beginning. We should always go back to be able to go forward. So me as a experienced medium, if you want to use that phrase, if I was to go and sit in circle, I'd love it no more. I'd love it no more than anything else to be able to sit with people who are just starting their journey. Because the teacher then, whoever's teaching, whoever's doing the circle, will be teaching them things where I can go, okay, I never thought about it like that. So even though it's not as experienced or not an advanced mediumship, shall we say, it's working more on the psychic, learning the difference between psychic and mediumship, working with how to make that connection with spirit. An experienced medium should sit with beginners, if you want to say that, and beginners should sit with experienced mediums, because we'll all learn off each other. And I don't believe, again, I wouldn't want to do I get asked to do workshops in churches. I get invited everywhere, and they say, do you want to do an advanced mediumship or just want to do a mixed? And I always say mix, because the advanced medium, even though I enjoy doing the advanced mediums where they're all more experienced mediums, I like doing the mix because there's something there for everybody. And we can all learn together, and you can watch the experienced medium stand up and do the exercise, and then watch the beginner go, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not as good as him. When I'll turn around and go, yeah, you are. Now let's do it. And then all of a sudden, they're doing it, so they're learning. But sometimes as a beginner, you kind of look at the experienced medium and go, oh, I can't. And you see them shying away from the circle, and kind of like ducking their head. No, you're just as good, So yeah, mix a class up, I say.
Very interesting. Yeah, no, I agree totally. I've got I'm not sure if it's a teacher energy or a daddy energy, but I love it when I see people get it. We did a couple of workshops here, and one girl was, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I said, yes, you can. You wouldn't be here if you couldn't. So I got her to face the wall when she got up there, because it was the nerve factor. So face the wall and give off what you get. And she gave a really good message with really good, succinct evidence.
Yeah.
And that gave her that confidence. She went, oh, wow. And I loved that as well. I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, just that the other night on the workshop we did online, I was doing holding the power, so staying in that power. So what I would do is I'd turn around to you, Love, and say, right, you give your message now, get your contact, who have you got, who you're working with, and then I say stop, and I get someone else. So I get Craig say, right, Craig, who have you got, who you with, right, stop, Lawrence, continue giving your message. And I had one of these students sat and go, I can't do that. I'm as experienced. I went, why? Yeah, but I'll lose it. No, you won't lose any. Keep that spirit with you. Because there's so many times in churches, in theatres, in clubs, where you do clubs and everybody's had a few drinks at second half, there's interruptions. So sometimes you get interrupted. So in the church, someone will come in late. So you'll turn around and you'll stop your message, but then you've got to be able to connect back with that link. And that's all it was. And this lady, she one of the students in the class, She gave a beautiful message. You know, she says, I went back to her, I said, right, now it's your turn. Continue the message. I don't know. No, I don't know. It's I've got, I know, and I will. I don't do, I think, I don't know, and maybe. Them words don't exist in my class. It's I know I've got a lady in the spirit world, and I know she passed. And you've got to be, you know, I know. And I always say, Lois, if the medium's not confident, not arrogant, where that fine line is, but confident in what they're giving, how do you expect your audience or your sitter to have the confidence that you have got their mum sat with you?
Yeah, very true.
Turn around and say, I know I've got your mum in the spirit world. I know she passed at 2:10, and I know she had cancer of the stomach. I know this because she's here with me, you know. And by doing that and then saying, right, stop, and you should see the faces, they go, but they did it because they can do it, you know. So, you know, it's having that trust. That's all it is trust in spirit. And I'm sure, I'm going to tell you, Lawrence, I'm sure you've lost trust now and again. You know what I mean? You just turn in yourself, not in spirit, in yourself. You know, I've never lost trust in spirit, but I've lost trust in me, you know, and that's another way of looking at it as well.
Yeah, very good. It's 8 o'clock. There's still a couple of questions. Are you happy to continue, Gareth?
Yeah, I'm okay for a bit. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Questions?
The lovely Sue, who I know runs a circle and will be doing what you just said next week. I expect to see that online too.
What's that say? Gareth, do you feel your teaching in circle is getting advising people yet? I think that so I can only help people. Sorry, Lawrence.
Sorry.
I thought you were going to say something.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Anything is what you put into it. You know, you can only gain anything from what you put into it. And the individual, very much they put into their development, that's down to them and working with spirit. You know, I can't do that for you. All I can do, or, you know, any other teacher or any other medium can do is just say, let's look trying it like this. Let's look at trying it like that. And it might not suit you, but it might suit someone else. So that's fine. Leave it and we'll go on to another exercise and that might suit you better. But if the student, if you want to use that, sits and goes, I can't do that, then, you know, they're not putting in. They're not putting in. At least give it a go. You know, you can do it. Otherwise, you won't be sat in my class now. Otherwise, you won't be, spirit won't have brought you here. So you only put in, you only get out of what you put in, you know, so it's down to you at the end of the day. But yeah, I can only advise people in how to do something or techniques and ways of doing it.
Yeah, I agree totally. I ban the word can't. We can put a man on the moon. We can put a pig's heart in a human being and keep them alive. So yes, you can do that. Go on.
Yeah.
Little comment there from Tim Pierce. He was 10 when he first sat in a circle.
Wow.
Early starter. Lovely. Valerie Roach. Very good question, Valerie.
Is an ideal number of people sitting in a circle? I don't. Again, it goes on to choice. It goes on to personal choice of everybody. With me, I'd like, if it was a weekly development circle, then I'd like no more than, say, 15, 20. And possibly more on the 15 rather than 20 on a weekly, if it was a weekly development. Workshops and that kind of development circles, I kind of think, well, anything from 20, 25, you know, upwards, well, 20, 25 really, because it's just a day, you're working with everybody's together. But when you work on a weekly basis, I kind of think, yeah, not around about 15, I would say, for me personally. I won't want to take anything more than 15, 20 is probably tops, but yeah. I know one of the circles I sat in many years ago, you had to wait to be invited to go into it because they wouldn't have any more than 8 or 9 people. And yeah, that I understand, but everybody's different.
Yeah, very true. I work it on a basis of how long are they going to work.
Yeah.
You know, so if you allocated everybody, say, 15 minutes actual working time, you've got 6 people, so you've already got 75 minutes. Then you've got the opening and closing procedure and the healing part. So, you know, if you're thinking, Valerie, of doing a circle, great. Just remember, everybody should have the opportunity to work. If they do, great. If they don't, great. You know, it's one of those things.
We say in me and Craig have been saying this past few weeks, and I know there's a couple of people in from the class in here tonight, and it's about the discipline. Do you know? So when we're working in the circle, what we're doing online now, you know, you've got to give your message within 5-6 minutes. You've got to get your contact, your communicator. You've got to get the evidence, the reason, you know, all that tied up in that 5 minutes, because I've got to move on to another person to give their message as well. So a lot of it is discipline. And when you're working in a circle, say in a physical, like in a church on what would be normal, then it's a case of, well, I've not got around to working tonight, but even though you've not worked, so I know some people have sat and I've never given a message. I'd never give a message. Never give a message. But you know what? When they do give a message, it's like fantastic, because all those weeks and all those months they sat there, they've been learning. They've been absorbing everybody else working, what not to do, what they agree, what they don't agree with, you know, their style, their way of doing it. And we're always learning, even though, you know, some people have never even given a message. They sat in circle thinking, you know, I love sitting in circle, but I never give a message. But absorbing so much.
Yeah, very true. We had one of the stalwarts of the church, dear Barbara, her husband Eric, when he was with us, he would sit with her in a healing circle and her meditation circle every week. And he did that for 18 years. And whenever he used to go around and say, right, give up what you got, his answer every time was usual. He never said a word, but he was a powerhouse. He really developed so much, but he didn't have to work. He just developed internally, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Lovely comment there from somebody who's sitting with you.
Thank you, Len. Yeah, thank you very much. I'll see you Thursday. I'll make you look even harder.
Yeah. Gareth, what an amazing evening.
Oh, thank you.
Really good.
I'm sorry I didn't give you, you know, any demonstration or anything. I didn't.
You have no apologies.
It was just a chat and answering some questions. I'm sure you did.
I probably did. Listen, everything's a bit ad hoc, but everything works out for the best. You know, one of the, as I say, always being mindful of why we're here, but one of the things that I am noticing are people are very eager to learn now. You know, they want to learn about philosophy. They want to learn about circles. They want to learn about healing. And before, you know, I used to serve a church not far from here, and they have a regular philosophy night. And I loved doing that because you did like a mini service and it had questions and answers. And I love that. That energy for me is just great. You know, I just link in and go for it.
Yeah.
And they used to have about 6 or 8 people turn up every week.
Right.
People just didn't support it, you know. No. But now at this time, people are out there asking every question under the sun. Yeah. Long may it continue.
I think there'll be a massive change when we come out of all this. I think it'll be completely different. You know, I think there'll be more of this online demonstrations, workshops, and whatever else as well. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, most certainly. And it's not just the ability to be at home quite comfortably, you know, not have to make that trip out, and that's fine.
One of the best Lawrence says, yeah, I'm here tonight working for your church. Yeah. I've got my slippers on. I'm not ironing the back of my shirt. I'll carry the front. Up to here. That's all I've ironed. I'll have to go off and have a glass of wine after this.
We pay travelling expenses. Send your invoice. Anyway. But yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. That when we can start having our meetings again in a more orderly fashion that we were used to, the online presence will certainly continue, because we've just got such a fantastic range of people we can access now. You know, your lovely self tonight. Last week we had a lady from New York. The week before we had a chap from California, another guy from Germany. You know, it's just like, hang on, this is quite you know, what they call it in business, a C step.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Gareth, thank you so much. We have thoroughly enjoyed your evening. Brilliant stuff.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the lovely comments as well, which I've been reading as we've been going along as well.
Yeah, no, people have loved it, absolutely loved it. So that is just absolutely amazing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Whether you're live tonight online or watching us on catch up later, it matters not. You're learning. We're building up this little video library now of knowledge, and it's really interesting. Because this is something else, you know, when we were just doing the evenings physically, once that evening's over, apart from the knowledge of the people present who took it home with them, it's gone. But now these evenings are going to be there and accessible all the time. So, yeah. Next week, we have the two Sarahs who will be doing mediumship, because I've written that down. Full week this week. Tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock, we have our divine service online with Suzette Carlisle Thorley taking our service. On Wednesday, 3 o'clock, we have the lovely Kate Green taking our service. Welcome return. Friday night, we have our joint night with the Spiritist Association of Bournemouth. That's always an interesting evening. They get a wide range of speakers in. And as I say, Saturday week, we have the two Sarahs, Sarah Wamman and Sarah McLaughlin. Something like that. This is my having coed. I can't say that name either. Thank you all. Thank you. Well done. Wonderful evening. Thanks for the comments. Craig Morris is watching. He'll be on the phone now, finding out about what you just said. Take care, everybody. Lots of love. We miss you loads. You know that.